Let's give everyone a little moment to come. So I'm Jade, Jade Bashford. I work for the Real Farming Trust, and so does Felix. He's helping us with tech. So if you've got any trouble with your Zoom, you can put that in the chat to Felix. So the Real Farming Trust is a small charity interested in agroecology and also interested in social justice around food and food justice. My area of work is to do with food poverty, social cohesion, inclusion. And we've done a series of webinars. I'll put the link for where you can find the recordings of the other ones. And there's a whole load of other information there about food surplus and community cafes, working with asylum seekers' food in this country and so on. And we'll put this one on there as well. This is an interesting one. I think it's particularly interesting because it takes into account both farming methods and social issues in another country, but linking with his. And we do work on twinning in this country, where we pair food projects that are socially different to understand each other's issues, rural-urban divides. So I thought it was very nice to hear about this issue, linking to a project further away as well. And they've done such an interesting job, such interesting work. So Karen's responsible. She can take the credit for this webinar, not me at all. She's done all the work. Oh, I have to tell you, it's lottery funded. This the whole program of webinars and other work arose from a biggest piece of work that was funded by the lottery that started off being about ready meals with food poverty groups in this country. All right, so I'll hand over to Karen, who's actually responsible for the good stuff in this webinar. We'll record it, and you can share the recording afterwards with your friends to promote it. So Karen's going to manage the rest of the time and manage the rest of the programme and introduce everyone who comes along. Over to you then, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's really good to see you all today. So I'm Karen Crooks, and along with Tom Hilton, who you can also see, we're the two present directors of Oranges for Justice, which is about a year old now, technically. And it's really great to be here today. Also with our colleague Pepe, Giuseppe, it says on his thing, Pepe, hi, all the way from Calabria in southern Italy. So international perspective today, which is fantastic. And we're going to tell you all about our project between the three of us. So we're going to change, but I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint, not going to do death by PowerPoint. It's simply to make it easier for us to remember what we're saying, so that yeah, we can follow it through. So if you'll just forgive me for a minute, I will share my screen. Sorry. Just, hopefully you can see that now. Let me try and
yeah, got it.
Yeah. Okay, so is that clear for everybody? Can everybody see the opening screen there? Just give me a wave. Yeah, excellent, thank you. So Mania Terra is really the Pepe will tell you more about the story of it, but it's really the wing of SOS Rosalno, which is the more forefront organization. But so that's why I've put the pairing there. But he can tell you more about that in a minute. What I'm going to do is just tell you how it came about that we got involved in the first place, the context of it all, really. So about 4 years ago, my partner and I wanted to volunteer in Italy for a year. And so we got in contact with an organization called the Federation of Protestant Churches in Italy, and they have a refugee and migrant project called Mediterranean Hope. And we said, can we come and be of help? My partner's an artist and a facilitator and has worked in humanitarian aid for many years. I've been in therapeutic work with families, and we also lived as a family in the Democratic Republic of the Congo for 4 years when our family was very young. And so, you know, we were really interested in this area, already working in volunteering in this country. And so we went to be part of their project. And one of the main things that they do is to, well, they do lots of different things with refugees and migrants, but one of them, the things they do is to arrange humanitarian corridors, which is not really something that we have in this country in a formal sense, but it's a government project for which different organisations contract to bring quotas of refugees over safely by air to the country of destination, in this case Italy, and then support them with language and accommodation and general psychological support as they come through. So we went to kind of help with that. But as part of that, they really showed us around the different things they're involved in. So these photos, you can see us at the airport. This is when these humanitarian corridor beneficiaries first arrive. They're welcomed at the airport, and it's just really beautiful to see the contrast with the you know, some of the rhetoric around refugees and migrants, to see the welcome that they're given. Their roses are handed out as they arrive, and they're given special packs, and you can see us here just playing with the kids, really, and you can see we're wearing masks. It was kind of as we were coming out at the end of COVID. And then we sort of went to different places in Italy doing various art projects, including Kites for Hope. And the top left photo is a group of Sudanese young men that had come over safely from difficult situations and come through Libya and been identified as UNHCR as the most vulnerable. And we worked with them for a couple of weeks. And we visited the cooperative, the Terra co-operative in Calabria. And here's some photos you can see of it. And it kind of was something that struck us really deeply, of how the project works on two halves, in a sense of providing stable, good work for migrant workers, but also young Calabrians for whom there is very little employment. So I'm just going to play this little video here. Hopefully it will. Yes. And it's just a minute, but it gives you an idea of the cooperative.
Aaron, we've got no sound. I don't know whether we should have.
Oh. Sorry, I don't know why. My sound is up loud, so I'm not sure. Sorry about that. So sorry about that you didn't have sound. Can you hear me now okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. I don't know what happened there. My sound showed that it was up full, but it just gives you a little idea. So now I'm going to hand over to Pepe, who's going to tell us a bit of the story of Terra and how it began. Over to you, Pepe.
Hello?
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
And thanks again for this opportunity you are giving us to talk about a system that even if apparently is in a place very far from UK, probably have the same characteristics and the same mechanisms all over the world, at least according to what we saw in the movie The Pickers of which Karen just talked. I want to apologize even for my English, but if there is something that is not clear, I really beg Karen to support me and help me in this issue. Okay. You know, we are from southern Italy. Our region is in the extreme south of the of our country, in front of Sicily, and we are in one of the three big plan of the region. When I say plan, I mean that even if we have 800 kilometers of coast in front of the sea, Calabria is basically a mountain region. But we have three big plan. Is it correct? Plan?
Yes.
Pianura. Okay. And this is a land with a strong and huge agriculture production, mainly clementines, and in the last maybe 15 or 20 years, also kiwi, orange, of course, and also avocado, of course, lemon, grapefruits, and whatever. So in this land, every year, thousands of foreigners, people used to come to look for a job in agriculture. They come from sub-Saharan West Africa, so from Mali going down till Liberia and Ghana, English people and French people, and also people from East Europe. I mean Romania and Bulgaria and Ukraine. Okay, and talking about the African workers, before we were born, we were, how to explain, something like human rights activists. We had an observatory on the winter season of harvest. We kept high the attention on this issue, because we realized that these workers, let's start to use the right words, workers, when they arrived in our place, they found a lot of difficulties because of contract, because of accommodation, and all the basic rights were not recognized to them. I hope you understand what I mean. So we said, okay, we can't turn our face from to another part. We have to do something. But we did something in a special part. I mean, solidarity, legal assistance, collecting of clothes, of food, and nothing else. Unfortunately, these workers often were attacked and beaten from very ugly people, in most cases young people who thought that was normal to use violence in front of these workers. And what is really important to say is that the reason for these people to come in our place is only job. What I mean I mean that here there are no projects for asylum seekers or refugees. You know, if you are from outside Europe, you enter in Europe and apply for protection. In Rosarno, there are no projects like this. So if you see a foreigner person here, he is here only because he is working or he is looking for work. No other reasons, okay? And unfortunately, in 2009 and 2010, two very serious facts happened to some workers. Some people from this place attacked them by guns and by and that's caused a riot, uh, a light riot in 2009. When I say light, I mean they just protested in the streets of the village of Rosarno. But after the promises they got from the municipality, from police, from everybody, we will protect you, we will assist you, we will recognize your rights, and blah 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 and whatever, nothing happened. And after 1 year, other two very bad aggressions. Can I say aggression? Okay. And in that case, it was the 7th of January 2010, 200 or from 200 or 300 people got upset, and they went inside the town and destroyed everything. They attacked people, houses, cars. There were 3 days of very, very horrible war. It was a civil war. Really, the media didn't want to understand what was going on in Rosarno in those 3 days. Nobody wanted to make an analysis of what were happening. Okay, and we did it. All those people who were organized like a collective for human rights fighters, we realized that what we have done before that moment was not enough. It was totally destroyed. People couldn't talk about the blacks in Rosarno. If you talked about the blacks, you were accused that like you don't respect your place, you don't like your place, we are not racist, we are welcome people, we respect everybody. A lot of very stupid and okay, you understand. I don't want to use rude words. So we realized that in that days, when we saw, listen to me, when we saw that most of the people who said, okay, we don't want to see the blacks, they have to go away, they were people we knew, our neighbor, our cousins, our friends. And what we realized in that case, that there was a social disaster. Social disaster. Rosarno was a very rich place in the 70s and in the 80s. So rich thanks to agriculture. People were very rich. Rosarno was known like a very rich place. Thinks that the nickname of Rosarno was Little America. It was a sort of Klondike, really, really, really. So we understood in that moment, during the days of the riot, when the blacks were attacked from a lot of criminals, and most of the people were scared afraid to talk about this, because if you talked about that situation, people would accuse you that you don't like, nationalism, patriotic bullshit. You understand what I mean? Okay. So we say, okay, why Rosarno is not Little America anymore? Why, thanks to the clementines and orange, Rosarno was rich and now is the opposite? And we said that we had this idea. Okay, let's talk to some producer. Okay, let's talk to them. Please explain us how it works. They spoke and we wrote. How much you spend to produce 1 kilo of tangerines? George, okay, thank you. What the contract say? Okay, thank you. What about the crate? Okay, thank you. What about the shipment? What do you think should be the fair price that a producer should get? Dot. Plus, 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 plus. Okay. And we had a price. And we asked them, so please, according to your idea, could it work that you sell directly what you produce directly to the buyers without any intermediation? And then most of them said it can work, and this is the ultimate hope, the ultimate chance. And we started, and it was very easy. Nobody told us how to do that. And from the first moment, can you imagine, people all over the world one day know that there is a Rosarno in the world, and is known as a horrible place where full of mafia people and racist people and fascist people who attack the workers from Africa and blah blah blah. And when people with who was interested to this issue knew that in Rosarno there are also normal people, because we are normal people, we are not extraordinary people. Okay, and they said, okay, we want to support this project, and the project is very, very, very easy. We decided the price. We don't need to speak with any broker. You understand what I mean? We don't work with the owners of the food. Probably we will have time to enter in details in this mechanism of the so-called free market. I think that this is important. But now I finish to the story, how our project was born. It's very, very easy. We use an Italian expression, is we discovered hot water. When you mean that you invented something very easy. And I want to add something. We are considered like a very revolutionary practice, a very extraordinary practice. And this is so sad. Why something that should be normal is considered extraordinary and revolutionary? We got a prize one year ago. We got a prize for doing something that should be normal. And this help people to understand how horrible are the mechanisms of the so-called free market in a capitalist economy market. And there is nothing ideological in what I'm saying. It's just calculator. If you produce something and you want to live with producing something, you must have a chance to sell at a price that allows you to continue the production, survive, feed your family, pay workers, and whatever. It is very easy. And from that moment, I want to say, we received a lot of interest in Italy. This is the 15th year. Every year, we got a little bit more. You understand what I mean? The project every year had improving every year, and we are still a small reality, but there is something that we can say that we showed all over the world, that another way is possible. But we
Lovely.
can't avoid to speak about the mechanism of the so-called free market. Then, if you want later, if we will have time, I can explain you in detail. This mechanism horrible. Who decide the price? That is the point. Who decide the price paid to the producer? Because the producer, in most of the cases, is the employer. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I can add later what we don't only produce food. We do much more. We try. We do our best
Thank
to do
you.
much more. Maybe we can talk about it later. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Pepe. I think you'll probably all agree that it's particularly interesting to hear that from Pepe in the light of some of the recent developments in this country, really, and some of the tendencies that are coming in. It's really interesting for us to hear that. That's brilliant. Thank you, Pepe. I'm going to hand over to Tom now, who's going to tell us a bit about, I'm not going to bring the PowerPoint up again until we have kind of photos and things, I think, because, so Tom, just tell me when you want me to show the photos, because there's not really, I don't think we need the notes, do we? Or do you need them?
No, it's okay. I can look at the PowerPoint anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose talk about our story. So Karen, I mean, just to say what Pepe said is so powerful. I mean, Karen and I went over about a month ago and met Pepe, and yeah, it was life-changing just to hear about what goes on. But to get back to what I should be talking about. Karen came back from Italy. We've been good friends with Karen, my wife and I, and Bill, Karen Bill, for a long time, but never either of us involved in humanitarian aid. And I'm just a retired, worked in education all my life, so it's something very new to me. But Karen wanted someone to help with this, and she asked me, and I ifed and hawed and gave her lots of reasons why it wouldn't be possible. But anyway, we got on board and we formed Oranges for Justice as a community interest company just over a year ago, and it's been quite a journey. In a year, we've had lots of challenges. We had to decide how we're going to do it, because what Pepe didn't mention was Germany is a huge customer, and Germany's got over 100,000 tons of oranges every year.
Kilos.
Start somewhere, and Germany's got a lot of fair trade shops. It's got a strong fair trade network. We didn't have that here. There are fair trade shops, of course, but we haven't got the volume that they have in Germany. And we looked at how we might do it. And most of our work has been selling direct to customers. So, of course, what we're doing by doing that is cutting out everybody. We can cut out the retailers. So we're cutting out all the middlemen, and we're getting the oranges. We pay Pepe directly, and we pay someone to import them. And of course, because of Brexit, we pay them more than we would have done. And that's how we get our oranges. We've had two deliveries so far, I would say in percentage terms, our volume is about 2.5% of what Germany imports. So you can see we've got plenty of scope for growth. There's no shortage of fruit, as we saw when we went. So finding customers, we've just grown it organically. Karen's based in Stroud, which is fantastic because of the Real Farming Trust and because of other organisations in Stroud who want to get involved. I mean, Whitney, not got the same infrastructure, but met amazing people who want to get involved in it, and that's how it develops. That's how it grows. Yeah, I mean, it's really sort of ignoring the current competition and distribution chain. Supermarket oranges are, by definition, produced by exploiting people. That's just how it works. It's no sort of shorthand way of saying that. That's just how it happens. And at the moment, we're kind of planning for growth. The problem is that we're directors and we're running it, so we're kind of looking for people to support us. We need more help with governance and being directors, but also forming new hubs. We're trying to get 4 or 5 new hubs off the ground for our delivery in December. So we're working on that, but of course, it's not going to happen without more support, and that's obviously what we're looking for. Is that enough for now, Karen?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Shout out to Kevin, who's on this call, who's going to be a Walthamstow rep, which is fantastic. So that's a great area to get it going. And I'd just add that if anybody on this call or people in areas that would be interested in receiving the fruit, then please just get in touch with Tom and I. That's kind of what we're looking for, is different areas. It needs someone in each area who can coordinate it and kind of understand it. So yeah, that's really good. I think because we don't have much time, Jade, is it right that we need to kind of stop at 22 for questions, or maybe 1:45?
It's up to you. You don't have to.
Yeah,
You don't have
I
a
think
huge number of people, so it might.
no. Okay. So I think we're going to sort of maybe just speak about a couple of things for about 10 more minutes, and then we'll hand over. So I think if you could just bear with me, I'm just going to share about the hostels, and I'm just
if anyone's got questions, you can put them in the chat.
Yeah, I'm just going to so I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm changing the order slightly, so bear with me a moment. And this time I will stop sharing when someone else is speaking. Sorry, it's over my controls are over the there's just very few photos there of us receiving the oranges, showing you that it did really happen. I think Jade is probably the only person apart from Tom and Pepe on the call who's actually tasted them. But what would you say, Jade? They're worth tasting, do you think?
They're absolutely fantastic. I thought I might share my box, and I hardly did. I scoff a lot like sweeties. They were really great.
So, and we've had fantastic feedback about the quality of them and so on. So you can see me making a fool of myself on Stroud High Street there. That's not required. If you want to be a hub manager, you don't have to make a fool of yourself, but I managed to do that. Tom was more proper, I think. So we're going to go, we'll go back and talk about justice. I just wanted to show you this because on 10% on top of the sales, goes towards building hostels to lift the migrant workers out of the terrible conditions in the camps. And the photo on the left is one of the sites which was occupied by a sort of tent city and was then razed to the ground by the local authorities. And on our last trip, that Tom and I self-funded this trip that Tom has mentioned, we were taken around by Ibrahim, who is a cultural mediator, and he lovely guy from the Ivory Coast, and he took us round and showed us two separate sites where basically after a while the government just raises the place to the ground and they have to move on, and it's nobody wants to really admit that they're there, and it's pretty miserable. And I'll give a link to the film The Pickers at the end of this if anybody's interested in seeing that. It's very, very informative, very well made and very interesting, and features Pepe at the end of it, which is very interesting, but you get more of a sense of it there. So 10% on top of our fruit, we pay that, and it goes towards helping to build hostels. So you can see on the right there, that's the hostel called Dambeso, which means House of Dignity. And that's exactly what it does. And this is the inside of it. On the left-hand side, you can see on the top the bedroom, and on the left a kind of meeting area. Each little unit has 4 bedrooms and a place to cook and a bathroom. And then on the bottom right are some. This is a typical thing that happens. This complex of housing that was built. A kind of backhanded contract given to somebody, and it isn't finished, and the money has run out. And so there's a project to try to work with in fact, the local mayor is relatively sympathetic to effectively Mediterranean Hope taking over these hostels and finishing them, and then using him in the same way as Dambe. So I think that Ibrahim told us there's potentially about, was it 300 places, Tom, in that? Maybe you know, Pepe, is it 300 places in these hostels if they're renovated, I think? So that would be significant anyway. So that's another aspect of buying the fruit and of distributing the fruit, is that you get to contribute to this. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment. So what we've got left to talk about, just want to talk briefly about the other aspects of justice at Mania Terra. I'm going to ask Pepe to speak about that for a few minutes. Pepe, we only have a few minutes to tell people about the different people who receive justice from your project. Then we just will talk for a second or two about, or a minute maybe, about the food hubs and food banks in the UK, and Jade will talk about her Lush, and then I think we've only really got 5 minutes or so for this. So Pepe, I'm going to ask you just to keep to 2 or 3 minutes, if you would, about the different people that you give money and fruit to.
You mean our workers?
That's one, but about your, the free fruit that you give out and the 5 cents in the kilo.
Yeah. Yes, with this 5 cents per kilo that we set aside, with this fund we support solidarity projects and practice. And I mean the house for workers, Dambezo, or I don't know, we supported ONG in Gaza. We gave them almost 6,000 euros. Another ONG called Rescue that rescue people in the sea between Libya and Lampedusa. Even other smaller projects. And if can add something that is really important for us, in cooperation with the groups that support our campaign, we give for free something like 5,000 kilograms of orange every year to poor families or ONG and NGO,
Mhm.
ONG, NGO.
The
Okay, you
NGO, yeah,
understood.
the NGO, yeah.
NGO that support families in difficulties, in trouble. They can be refugees, migrants, Italian people, no matter where do they are from. The motto, if you understand motto, I think that is the same word, is those who can do something, do what they can do for those who cannot do.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mean, if you have chance to do something for someone who doesn't have a chance, do it.
Yes.
And if we do it, it is not because we are brilliant, generous, revolutionary heroes. It's very easy. We got chance to sell what we produce at a clear and transparent and fair price. Otherwise, we shouldn't be forced to choose between abandoning the production or exploit someone who is weaker than you. You understand what I mean? It's very easy.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very
Easy.
much. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you, Pepe. Thank you. So, Tom, can you just say a little about the UK side of that?
Yeah. So I think I mentioned already we're importing round about 2.5. What is it? 2,500 kilos. So we're very, very tiny in the UK, and we've done it really by talking to people locally, both in Stroud and in Whitney, and trying to persuade, or talking to people who kind of get it. I think this is what we've sort of worked out in the end, that some people don't get it. When people come back to us and say, well, the fruit was really nice, but you know, there's quite a lot of pips in it and we won't be buying anymore. Well, maybe then, you know, it's not just about the fruit, is it? It's about what lies behind it. So we do, it's interesting how many people you think maybe wouldn't want to buy our fruit do. I mean, my neighbours, for example, a WhatsApp group, and they're amazing in terms of the amount of fruit they bought. So people are amazingly generous, but it's not just about, it's kind of a way of giving, isn't it, as well as a way of actually getting some fantastic fruit. So it kind of it ticks that box as well for people. So yeah, churches have been important for us as well, but I wouldn't say that the response from churches has been that different from the response from anyone else. It's not been particularly good. It's worked in some churches. Some churches are impossible to penetrate. And the message is quite difficult to get out, really, because you know, the message is we sell it directly. We buy directly and we sell at a fair price. We don't add anything on. The only things that we add on are the things that we need to add on. Whereas if you buy from a supermarket, there are many people taking a cut. And of course, the supermarkets are all in competition. They're trying to force down prices all the time as well. So, you know, we've got a strong message, and it's all about getting that out. And the message is about social justice, of course, but also about organic food and how nice the food is. So, yeah. So
Sorry, were you going to go about food banks and
yeah, well, what we've tried to do with it, thank you, Karen. Thanks for that prompt. The food banks are interesting. Some food banks won't take fresh food, but others will. And initially mine wouldn't. But when I talked to them and said, well, if people don't all like for citrus fruit, it's not everyone's bag, you know. So if you don't like citrus fruit, don't buy any for you. Buy some for the food bank locally. So it kind of, and this year we'll be putting that on the website. You know, one option is not to buy it for yourself, it's to buy it for somebody else. So there'll be that opportunity to buy food,
or both.
or both, buy food, and the food banks, you know. So there's some kind of synergy with doing stuff locally as well, and helping that helps to embed it in the community as well. So and that's been really good actually. It's been fantastic for me because as someone that's not been involved in this, not only, you know, meeting Pepe and being able to see what goes on and what difference people are making, but also locally, you know, because it helps to build community locally as well. And I found that really good, that part of it. So
That's great. And could we, Jade, do you want to say a bit about Lush at this point? You can maybe include in Stroud that we've done that.
Yes, I won't say very much because we're short of time and Tom's covered it rather well, but it's a neat aside really to your main work is that the oranges are going to people who are marginalised in this country as well as people who are marginalised who arrive at the farm, and they're often marginalised for the same underlying reasons, the same big picture reasons. So yeah, Lush is really just a name for what Tom described, where you go to any good producer, not necessarily this one, who's already selling direct to the public, and you talk to them about asking their existing customers to buy another one for someone that needs it. So this is a particularly nice example that Tom just mentioned because of the supplier being unusually good. So it's called Lush because it's linking up suppliers and hubs. So we did it in Stroud, who've done it with Oranges for Justice, but also with a local organic meat farm, for example. So it's got 3 steps. So a supplier who's already selling direct to the public in the way that meat box was, or Oranges for Justice asks an existing customer to buy an extra one for someone that needs it. So they increase their sales. They're selling 2 when they would have only sold 1. So that's good for those good producers. Then they make a partnership with a food hub who distributes the food, who's embedded in those communities of need. And there's a good lot of those in Stroud, the food hubs. Or as Tom said, he made a relationship with the food banks and food poverty projects in Oxford that he wouldn't otherwise have done. So that relationship's important and good. And then the Food Poverty Project distributes the food in the way that Tom described. So that's Lush. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because it's a bit of an aside to what we're on today. We did a webinar about it on Monday, a whole hour on that, and we'll put that on the website, the same location as this one's going to go. And I'll put some information in the chat. There's a 2-minute video on what Lush is. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to say.
Lovely. Okay, so I'm just something really useful that Pepe explained to me yesterday, which is very clear for everybody who's on the call and in the recording, is that a worker picks an average of 600 to 800 kilos of fruit a day, which effectively means every pallet that's ordered provides a day's work for a worker. So that's quite a nice rule of thumb to remember. And while we're very happy to have provided 4 days of work for people so far, we would like to provide lots more. So every pallet extra that we are able to sell is providing another day's work. So apart from all these other benefits that we've already talked about, which are huge. So we'd like to, you know, just leave you with that kind of thought. And
That is not the only benefit, Karen.
No, I know.
It is only a part of the price. That is the benefit for the picker.
Yes. And then you have your
There is
small
the
farmer.
benefit, for the farmer and for the people who work in the warehouse.
Yes. Yes.
So,
yes.
So it's more than 1 day. More than 1 working day.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's really helpful. It's sort of like a bit of a circle, really. There's this sort of concentric circles of people who are benefiting in different ways. In fact, it'd be nice to do an orange, wouldn't it, with the different layers of or you know, with different layers of help, I think, for that. So I'm just conscious that we I don't know if there are any questions. I don't see any in the chat. But if you do, anybody who's on the call does have a question, please do pop it in the chat. And in the meantime, I could just show you the slide of the contact details at the end, if I can share my screen again. Am I right in thinking, Felix, there aren't questions yet?
It might be that people also want to
or
tell us
just want to
what
ask them?
you're doing. There might be people doing something similar, or people who are interested in setting up their town to be a hub or something like that. So yeah, don't limit it to questions. And if
Okay.
you want to speak, you don't have to put it in the chat. You can introduce yourself if you'd like to do that. I'm sure there's some really interesting and experienced people on the call.
Mm. Yeah. Shall I go ahead and share this slide, and then you that won't take no time. It's just showing it to you, really, whether it's there.
Yeah.
Just move it. Oh, oh, yeah. So this is about there's a campaign around the film. This is a really good film to see. So there's the link to be able to watch that. And then there's our website and both of our emails and telephone numbers on there. So you would be able to share that as part, because we've given permission for that, Jade, as part of the recording and so on. Yeah. So
Yeah,
they're both there. Okay, so I'll stop sharing that now, just because, and presumably that will come to whoever is.
We'll put it on the website. So if you scroll up in the chat, I've put the website where we're going to post the recording, and that'll have the PowerPoint in it. Is there anybody on the call who might be interested in doing something similar, or even is already doing something similar? I can't see if you put your hands up. I haven't got everybody's view, so just jump in. It's fine to just speak if you want to. Any questions, or anybody who might be brave enough to talk to Karen or Tom about setting up an audit for their town?
And we wouldn't jump on you. You know, you're very. We're very happy to just have a very exploratory conversation with no commitment needed. You know, unless you are ready.
I've never been in such a quiet group with so few questions. It's astonishing. You might you gave a very thorough account of yourselves.
Do you sell at all to shops, or is it most only really to individuals or organizations? Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, it's tricky. We have, I mean, we've got a cafe in Stroud, Star Anise, which some people know who buy them, because the guy who runs it is very committed to all sorts of really important things. That's really the only kind of retail, if you could call that a retail outlet, who has taken them so far. But we're kind of in discussion with a few people. There are as actually Pepe just pointed out in the chat, that the supermarket prices for one of the brands of oranges is higher than we paid. Yeah, and you occasionally find that. So that, for instance, Kevin, who's in Walthamstow, there's an organic veg box project for London, not far from him, called Organic Lee, and their prices for that they buy their mandarins at are actually higher than our prices. So, you know, there is now and again a bit of leeway, but it's difficult to, it's difficult to kind of, for them to put any margin. So if there's any costs that they have, which of course you do if you're a shop, you have a rent and you know, power and whatever, don't you, and staff costs. There's not much of a margin for them to put on and still charge a price that is not extortionate. So far we've been primarily directly, but what we have had is a lot of groups. So in Stroud, I have about 9 people who buy on behalf of a group of people. And that definitely is really effective. And we're also considering whether we actually sell to some retailers at cost price, because we put a little bit on them to cover our very minimal cost. But Tom and I are volunteers, but that, you know, there are obviously other costs like producing flyers and banners and things like that. So we're going to explore that. Thank you, Andy, who's put in the chat that he'll share the link with your Fair Trade Partnership group. Again, if they, you know, if any of them want to, just can go on our website to find anything about it. So,
and if you want to tell us about your groups, you can. Don't feel under pressure, but if you want to talk about that, that looks interesting.
Yeah, it's not a lot to say. The Newcastle City Council has a kind of historically it had a fair trade policy that's fallen a little bit in abeyance, but one of the remains of that is it helps to host a partnership of organisations within the city that are promoting fair trade, fairly traded products, and some of them are, are people who sell direct to the public. So that could be of interest to them, I think. Also involved with the universities and so on. So yeah, that's it broadly speaking.
That would be great. I mean, if you're able, Andy, to give us contact or contact either Tom or I on our emails at the end of the presentation with your contact details, that would be brilliant.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've just got a couple of minutes left now, so if there's anybody who's on the brink of saying something and hasn't quite worked up the courage, then jump in quickly. Or if there's any closing remarks from anyone on the call.
I think we've covered most of it, actually. Yeah, I think,
Can I just say something? I think Pepe said, I heard Pepe, I really encourage people to see the pickers, and I'm not the best person to talk. It took me a long time to get around to watching it, but I was blown away by it. And Pepe said what he said today, which he said this is not revolutionary. This is not revolutionary. And he also said this is very simple. And one message maybe is that people can't, it's like throwing a pebble in the ocean. It's maybe quite a small thing, but actually we can't. I said to Karen yesterday, is anybody else doing this with fruit in Southern Europe? And we don't know of anyone. So it's a good, it's kind of, if you could do something that makes a difference, stop buying oranges in supermarkets. Really do stop buying oranges in supermarkets. It's resulting in dreadful poverty for a lot of people, and buy them and get people to buy them in a different way, or stop buying them because they're exploitative. So, I think it's only a small thing, this, but actually it's just one way in which something can be done that makes a bit of a difference, and starts something off. And Pepe is so passionate about this, and it's what's the word? It's contagious. It really is.
Yeah.
Very
Brilliant.
nice closing note. Thank you, Tom and Karen and Pepe. That was a really fantastic webinar. Just really appreciate it, and I really hope the people listening to the call will start to spread your wonder. It's really fantastic. Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, we have to finish.
The problem is that people don't know anything about these issues.
Yeah, so we have to talk.
Yes.
And we have to show the film.
If you go on the street and talk to people about this, they say, I don't know.
No, what's the pickers?
Because this kind of information is not easy to get it.
No.
Yeah.
But what's the pickers? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to close now.
Where's the pickers?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
It was a
you.
really great session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you,
You're
Pepe.
so great.